Hello, welcome to Murder in Paradise, and I'm your host. Today's episode is another murder case that happened in Jamaica and is a solved one. Please keep up to date by subscribing to my YouTube channel, Murder in Paradise. Also, all information has been taken from news articles I read online and videos I've watched. I do not intend to spread any misinformation about any cases I talk about. And now let's get started. In February 2023, 8-year-old Nikita Noel was attacked just meters from her home, murdered, and disposed of in bushes. This is her story. Nikita Noel, also called Joanna, was born to her mother, Nordia Edwards, in Q District, Hanover, Jamaica. At the time of her death, she lived with her mother and her mother's on and off boyfriend, Omar Green, who was a construction worker. She attended Usher Primary School and was in grade 4. Her mother described her as being well behaved and a very jovial child, always sticking around her house and never straying far from the yard. Joanna left home around 7:10 a.m. on February 1st to attend school as she usually does each morning. She was expected to arrive home by 4:30 p.m. that day, since this was the latest she usually gets home from school. Joanna had a designated driver who would always take her to and from school. He would pick her up at a set location and drop her off at that same spot each day along with other passengers. It is believed that this day was no different. Her mom reached out to the driver to see why Joanna wasn't dropped off as usual and was told her daughter was indeed dropped off. Noidia became very suspicious as she went around asking for her daughter. No one had seen her after being dropped off. Neither had anyone seen her walking down the tracks to her home that day. It is believed that after being dropped off and while on the short walk home, this is where Joanna vanished. After going to the Lucy police station to file a missing person report, Nordia went back home to her house, still asking questions and now with a search party helping to look for her daughter. It was said that a boy around the same age as Nikita had walked a little with her that evening after she was dropped off from the taxi. Around 7 p.m., after getting the Jamaica Constabulary Force to help with searching, Nordia was outside when she suddenly heard a scream. Her body felt numb. She said she could feel something was desperately wrong. After rushing towards the scream, she saw her own mother wailing and crying. And that's when she saw her daughter's lifeless body. Joanna was found lying in the bushes, just a few feet away from her home. She was dead. Her mother's baby girl was found dead. Her 42-year-old stepfather, Omar Green, was arrested and convicted of the crime. After being arrested, it was learned that Omar Green was not a saint. He had a domestic dispute with Nordia the morning of Nikita's death. He was already on the police radar as well for gun charges, which had ended up being dropped. Even though at the time he was never convicted of the gun charges, Nordia had been the same one to bail him out of jail, not knowing he would turn around and kill her only daughter. He also slashed the tires of an ex-girlfriend vehicle and threatened to kill Nikita's mother on several occasions. In Nikita's postmortem, it is said that she was raped and manually strangled to death. Semen was taken from Green and used to determine that he was strongly linked to her death and cannot be excluded from the murder. After his court case began at the Hanover Circuit Court by Justice Courtney Day, Green pleaded guilty and was sentenced to life in prison. For the rape, he is unable to receive parole until he served 43 years and 7 months. For the murder, he will not be eligible for parole until serving 50 years and 7 months in prison, with both sentences running concurrently. Nordia is begging for the Jamaican government to revisit the death penalty. Hopefully, Omar has a terrible time in prison and never lives to step a foot outside again.